Hello everyone, I'm Kayla Kathleen and I'm here today with another Harry Potter themed video. I'm doing Harry Potter themed videos all month this month, and the theme is basically sorting characters into the Hogwarts houses. So in the first one of these videos, I talked about some of my favorite Gryffindors, and for this one I'll be talking about some of my favorite Hufflepuffs, which is my own house. So these are characters from a bunch of different books that I think are Hufflepuffs. You may agree or disagree with me as you see fit, and let me know in the comments down below. But first, let's talk about some of the traits that Hufflepuffs exhibit. They are, of course, most well known for their hard work and loyalty. I think Hufflepuffs tend to be on the quieter side, the more chill side. They're maybe the most chill house of the four houses. They tend to be modest and fair, and much like Gryffindors, have strong morals, but not ones that they're gonna go shouting about. I don't think Hufflepuffs are particularly competitive. I think they're more worried about making sure everyone's having a good time, and Hufflepuffs tend to put others first. They can maybe be a bit of doormats at times. They're certainly not the most obviously impressive house. They have a quieter, more studious strength about them, I guess. But starting off in no particular order, we have Hazel Grace Lancaster from The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. Now, in the last video, I sorted Gus into Gryffindor, and in this one, I'm sorting Hazel into Hufflepuff. And no, not just because their names start with G and H, although that is a funny coincidence. So as I talked about in the Gryffindor video where I talked about Gus, Gus has a little bit of a martyr complex. He wants to leave his mark on the world before he goes. And Hazel just does not understand this. She has a bit of a quieter step in life. She cares deeply about others, so much so that she doesn't want to harm them by being too close to them or too big of a loss for them. She doesn't really care if she's remembered widely, and she also kind of wants to minimize the hurt that she causes others. So obviously she does want love, everyone does, but she almost kind of pushes it away in order to protect other people, which is such a Hufflepuff trait, I think. She's incredibly loyal to the people she's close to. She has just a small group around her, but she cares about them deeply. She has a strong moral code, but unlike Gus, she's not necessarily out there shouting about it. She's certainly not competitive, and even though she's pretty great, she's really modest about it. Between her and Gus, she's definitely the quieter character and has that quieter strength about her. Next, we have Kath from Fangirl, which one could definitely argue that Kath could be a Ravenclaw. This is a very fair assessment of Kath. I put her in Hufflepuff because I connect with her on such a deep level, and I'm a Hufflepuff, so I feel like she would maybe get a Hufflepuff result in Pottermore. Is probably really a Huffleclaw. I myself am kind of a Huffleclaw. I've got some Ravenclaw tendencies. So yeah, I just sort of kind of sorted her the way that I was sorted. But yeah, we both got that kind of quieter, more chill personality with a lot of loyalty, big loyalty to our fandoms, of course, a lot of nostalgia. I feel like Hufflepuffs are maybe a bit nostalgic in general. But yes, she also for sure has that intelligent and also creative side that Ravenclaws have. Next, I have Papa from The Book Thief. This is the character that takes Liesl in and really cares for her. Mama obviously also cares for Liesl, but in a much rougher way, I guess. But yeah, Papa is super hardworking. He's working as much as he can to try to keep his family afloat. He's very loyal. This book takes place during World War II, and he is helping a Jewish friend of his be in hiding in his house. So he's got a strong moral code, does not agree with what is going on, and is willing to stand up for that, but really more so uses his actions than his words, because he's a pretty quiet guy in general. So yes, a very strong Hufflepuff character in Papa. Next, I have Augie from Wonder by RJ Palacio. Augie is just really the cinnamon roll Hufflepuff that we all love. He's so sweet, so cute. He's so loyal to his friends, even friends who started out not treating him very nicely. He gives them a second chance and forgives them, and then becomes very loyal to them. And he's really willing to put others first because he knows what it feels like not to be put first. Next, I have Uva from A Man Called Uva by Frederick Bachman. And Uva is a Hufflepuff who has sort of put up his guard and created this rough exterior that doesn't really reflect who he is on the inside in order to kind of protect himself, which there are a few Hufflepuffs in this stack that I feel like are Hufflepuffs on the inside, but they're trying to hide it in order to put up this armor. Which, as much as I love a good cinnamon roll Hufflepuff, I also really love a good guarded Hufflepuff. But Uva is incredibly hardworking, really believes in paying your dues and just doing what you gotta do and contributing. He doesn't let a whole lot of people get close to him, but when he does, he becomes incredibly loyal to those people. He's got a strong moral code, which he's a little bit... he'll let you know if he doesn't agree with anything that you're doing. So a little bit more outspoken in that way. But in like his personal life and making personal connections, much more quiet and reserved. So he's not super competitive, but he does definitely think that there is a right way to do things, and if you're doing them wrong, again, he'll let you know. So he's a little more uptight than the average Hufflepuff, not quite as chill. But again, I think a lot of that is part of this armor that he has constructed that maybe wouldn't have been his natural state of being if he hadn't been such a guarded person. But again, much like Augie, this is just one of my favorite characters. He's so sweet and so cute once you get past all that armor. And on to another Hufflepuff who has kind of created an armor for themselves to hide that they're Hufflepuff. And so this one might be a surprising one. I don't think a lot of people would sort this character into Hufflepuff. I think a lot of people would probably sort this character automatically into Gryffindor because they're the hero of the story. And I know some people sort this character into Slytherin, like those are the two main houses that this character gets sorted into online. But I think that this character is a Hufflepuff at heart, and that is Katniss Everdeen from The Hunger Games. Last week I sorted Gale into Gryffindor, and now I'm putting Katniss in Hufflepuff. Hear me out. So as for the Gryffindor sorting for Katniss, obviously Katniss is brave. There's no debating that. But I do not find her to be reckless. I find her to be pretty calculating with what she does in trying to protect herself and, more importantly, her family. She is certainly not a martyr. The only reason she volunteers is to save her sister. It's not like she wants to go into the Hunger Games for the glory or anything. She does not strike me as particularly competitive. She certainly is not a show-off, and she's a pretty quiet, reserved person. Gryffindors tend to be a little more boisterous, I feel. And then as for her Slytherin sorting that she also gets a lot, I think people do that sorting for her because she does very narrowly just care about herself and her family and the people who are close to her, and she doesn't really want to change society as a whole, which is maybe why people would pick Slytherin instead of Gryffindor. And she can also be a little bit mean sometimes, a little bit rude, a little bit gruff. But again, I think that's the armor she has put up to protect her Hufflepuff insides. But let's really look at Slytherin. Slytherins tend to be ambitious. They want to make their lives, or the lives of the people that they care about, better. They want to elevate themselves. Katniss, that's not Katniss, that's Gale. Katniss, she does not love her society, obviously, but had Prim not been pulled for the Hunger Games, she would have been perfectly happy living her whole life in the seam as long as she could feed her family and go out in the woods and hunt. She was satisfied. Gale was the one who was out in the woods yelling about how they need to change the system or run away and get a better life. Katniss is not particularly cunning, not really a strategist. She often has no idea what's going on politically around her. So while she might have some Slytherin traits, she can definitely hold a grudge. She's definitely level-headed and self-sufficient. At the same time, I think she's missing those two key components of ambition and cunning slash strategy, all that stuff. I think she displays much more of the Hufflepuff traits, especially the big important ones. She's clearly hardworking. She's been providing for her family since she was quite young. She's very quiet. She only has one friend before the series starts. She puts others first most of the time. Again, if she's not very close with a person, maybe not so much. But volunteering for her sister and the way she takes Rue under her wing, she definitely puts others first if she's gotten to know them and have empathy for them. And once she does get to that point, she's very loyal. She will do anything to protect the people that she loves. And she's not particularly competitive. Like, she's very good at certain things, but she's not going to shove it in your face. And so yeah, for those reasons, I think she's really a Hufflepuff deep down, but she's put on this armor, and then also she's kind of thrust into this hero role. But if she had it her way, she'd have been living in the seam, moderately enjoying life for all of her days. Continuing on with this train of guarded Hufflepuffs, we have Tiger Lily from Tiger Lily by Jodi Lynn Anderson. Again, I could see an argument for Gryffindor with Tiger Lily for sure. She, again, certainly has that bravery element, that adventurous element, but once again, I think it is outweighed by her quieter personality and also her deeply caring personality. When an Englander crashes on the island, nobody else is interested in trying to save her life, but Tiger Lily immediately feels a very deep empathy with him. I think Hufflepuffs tend to be very empathetic. She's clearly hardworking. Really, most of the people on the island are, not all of them, but if it's something she's passionate about, she will put in the work. She's incredibly loyal, even if you don't realize that she's your friend because she's so quiet. On the inside, she's very loyal. She does like to kind of compete with the boys, but again, she's not really a show-off about it per se. She just knows her skills and knows what she can do, and she does it. And she's very fair. Like, she wants everyone to just be treated fairly, which is another big Hufflepuff trait. Next, I have another kind of surprising one. This one, the character doesn't have as much of that armor up to protect himself, but we have Roran from the Inheritance Cycle. Again, I think a lot of people would put him in Gryffindor. Last week I put Aragon in Gryffindor, but I think Roran is more of a Hufflepuff, but not in the same way as some of these others. Like, he's not a cinnamon roll, but he's also not like put up these massive walls like some of the other Hufflepuffs on this list. But just because you're one of the heroes of the stories doesn't mean that you're a Gryffindor. Again, I think Roran just rose to the occasion when the time called. Before everything starts going down, Roran's kind of main trait is that he's just very hardworking. He works on the farm all of his life, and then he goes and gets an apprenticeship with a smith so that he can provide for the girl that he wants to marry. He's very loyal to his hometown, to his dad, to the girl that he wants to marry. Those are kind of his two main traits, both very Hufflepuffy traits. He's not particularly a leader in the town before everything starts happening, but when all the kind of shit hits the fan, he just rises to the occasion and becomes a leader, but in a very like happenstance sort of way, I guess. He ends up finding out that he's very good at giving inspirational speeches, but like once he's done with his speech, that's it, he's done. He goes back to kind of being his more quiet self. But his speeches are always very honest from his heart, just based on his morals and his outlook of the world. And like he knows he's accomplished a lot, but he's always pretty modest about it. Like I feel like if someone better suited to lead came along, he would be very happy to hand over the reins, as he does at the end of the book, of the series, kind of. He just goes back to being a farmer, because that's where he's actually most happy. Next, getting into the end here, number 9, I have Mirabella from 3 Dark Crowns. And this is a series where 3 sisters are fighting for the crown, and whoever is the last one standing to survive this competition gets to be queen. And of the 3 sisters, Mirabella is the one who feels most uncomfortable with the idea of killing her sisters. She's very loyal to her sisters, despite the fact that they have not seen each other since very early childhood, and they have grown up knowing that they would have to kill each other one day. So even after all those years and all these people telling her that this is what would be happening, she still cannot let go of that loyalty to her sisters. So she's definitely willing to put them first. She's very modest. She's a pretty powerful elemental and very beautiful, but very modest. I would say she's the most fair of the 3 sisters. But yeah, definitely her loyalty is what makes her stand out as a Hufflepuff. And now, finally, for the last Hufflepuff on this list, we have another cinnamon roll, Wylan from 6 of Crows. He's just so cute and adorable and nice. And yeah, he's just your basic cinnamon roll Hufflepuff, just full of sweetness. He's kind of comes off as like the youngest and most naive of the crows, even though he also has a tragic backstory just like all of them. But he still has just managed to hang on to that innocence, or he gives that vibe at least. He becomes loyal to the crows very quickly, despite the fact that they kind of have a rough introduction, if I remember correctly. He's definitely very honest and very fair, and despite his upbringing has a strong moral code. So yeah, this was just 10 of my favorite Hufflepuffs. Again, let me know down below any characters that you love that you consider to be Hufflepuffs, or if you disagree with any characters that I consider to be Hufflepuffs. I hope you enjoyed watching, and we'll stay tuned for the next video. And on to the quote for today's video, which is another Harry Potter quote. And this one is from Sirius Black, and it goes, "If you want to know what a man's like, take a good look at how he treats his inferiors, not his equals." Thanks for watching. Remember, words matter.